we're going to show you how we loaded these large logs onto this trailer using this easy DIY log arch. I hope you enjoy the video. All right, as many of you know, we bought a sawmill, but we don't have a tractor to load logs onto the trailer. I've got a dump trailer here, but the pump isn't hooked up because the pump had to be replaced, and I haven't had the time to get the pump working. And so we had to have a way to load logs onto the trailer to get them home so we can cut them on our sawmill. Well, my sawmill will only cut maximum 22-inch wide logs. And I was like, man, I got to go buy all this metal, so I got to make a log arch just like you see everybody else do, loading them onto their trailer. And I called, and one stick of 2-inch by 2-inch tubing, one stick being over 20 foot, was $160. And I really didn't want to spend that. I'm like, what have I got that I can make a log arch out of? And I got to looking around. I looked at my shop. I said, there's the roll bars off the back of that Kubota zero turn that we just bought, just sitting there, and we'll probably never use those again. So I got my tape measure out. I said, let's see how wide that is. And you won't believe it, but that's 22 3/4 inch wide between the spaces. That should pull any log that we are able to saw out onto the sawmill. So, and we're looking at 4 foot, right at 4 foot is how tall this thing is. And I don't need a lot, but the concept is this log arch would tilt forward with a pulley hook right here running to the front of the trailer where I've got a winch. And I can run the winch cable here and down to my log, put it around the log, and as the winch is pulling, this is tilted back. And as the log gets up here to just under the arch, and it starts raising, it raises that log up and then onto the trailer. So that's the way it's going to have to function. So now I had to come up with, well, how am I going to make this thing swivel back and forth without, buying a bunch of metal? So whenever I bought the sawmill, it came in this nice metal crate with this 2-inch by 2-inch angle. See that angle right there? And so I took my side grinder out and I started cutting these, the 2-inch angle off of it, and I cut this one in half. And then I had this little piece left over, and I said, well, I could put that on the front and use that as a stop, that whenever this log arch comes all the way over, it'll rest perfectly on that 45-degree angle. And then that should do the job rather than trying to buy a pin and put a pin in there or a bolt or something like that. So I'm trying to do this as cheap as I can, guys. And I want to show it to you so that I know that there are some tight budgeted home sawmill type of people, because I've searched all over YouTube and the internet, and you see people, they're spending hundreds of dollars on these log arches, and I really didn't want to do it, seeing how I'm a hobbyist and I'm only looking at hauling maybe 10 logs a year, and I didn't need to dump a bunch of money into this. So I can repurpose what I've got. I'll have to buy the pulley that goes up here, and I'll have to spend $100 to $200 on a little winch. And it doesn't take much to pull logs up and onto the trailer. So if you get a 5,000 pound winch, I've seen those things pull logs right onto the trailer really with no problem. So 150 bucks, I should be able to build out a way to get logs onto the trailer. Let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to show you I've already kind of built out the other side over here. I kind of mocked that up, but I want to bring you along and show you what I do to this other side over here so you can see from start to finish how this thing works. I've also looked under the trailer, and I got a nice C-channel beam here and a C-channel beam there. And I'm going to have to bolt as close to those C-channels. And if it starts flexing the trailer metal too much as I'm trying to pull logs on, I may have to go under there and put a piece of angle iron under there and put my bolts down through that to kind of beef that up a little bit so it'll support a little bit better. But that's down the road once we play with this thing and see what it's capable of doing and where the weak points are. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so as you can see here where I've already kind of been playing around with this, I had to be able to the log arch has to be able to tilt 45 degrees, and it was getting hung up on the 45-degree corners or on the 90-degree corners there. So I put the metal cutting saw blade from Diablo onto my miter saw so we can cut the metal, and I just turned it 45 degrees and I just chopped off the front corner and the back corner and just leaving a little bit there. So I got about 1 inch from the bottom of the metal to where my bolt is. So I just measured up 1 inch and then cut 45 degrees on both ends, kind of just squared the bottom off, give it a little, so it's just not so fragile right there. So kind of see what's going on there. All right, so let's back it off and I'll let you see us cut these 45s down here on the bottom. So let me tilt the camera down. Now, because we have such a small metal cutting blade here, I got to be able to jack the metal up so that when I bring the saw down, I'm able to cut down through the metal. Because if I don't have my metal raised up, then it's not going to come all the way down to the bed and make a good cut there. So let's get the saw plugged up. Let's mark our corners, and then let's get to cutting. So we got our 45-degree marks made. You probably can't see that on the video, I understand. But we can get our metal up there and get it lined up. All right, so there we go. Nice 45-degree angles. And then I use a 5/8 drill bit because 5/8 is the size bolt that I'm going to be putting through this. So I had already lined up and drilled our holes whenever we had drilled through that. But basically I just put my iron out there, marked out my circle on the angle iron, drilled that, and then laid it back up there, and then marked out the circle on the pipe to match, and then drilled my pipe. So that's all that was to that. All right, so here's the angle iron that was on our crate, and I just used the saw or the angle grinder just to cut those pieces off. Now that I got them over here on the saw, I'm just going to trim these little pieces off right here. right, so we're making these just 12 inches. You can make yours however big you need to fully function, but it was just a good number for. All right, so I took off the one bracket on the one side that I already had drilled. Here's the ones we just cut. Just gonna put them up there like that. And then I'll just transfer the marks. So I got a little mark, give me an idea of where that's gonna go. Get my block of wood. Now I'm just going to drill my holes. All right.
Wow. That was awesome.
That's cool.
Hope you enjoyed the video, and hit the like button. Also hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. And don't forget, keep growing, keep building, and always keep adventuring. And together, we're Flomaton Famous. We'll see you next time.